everyone, welcome to Parent Town TV. Today we have with us super mom and parenting expert Tara Sharma. We'll be discussing with her how, being a new age mom, how she juggles work and motherhood with a life. So Tara, welcome to Parent Town TV. My first question to you is, being a parenting expert and you have so many guests on your show, what advice would you give to mothers who are under a lot of pressure to perform and to be perfect?
So firstly, I'm no expert. I always say I'm no expert. I'm just a regular mom and I'm learning all the time. I make lots of mistakes. I do some things perhaps okay. Hopefully I do some things well. But I think like most moms out there, I'm learning all the time. So I don't really, even on my show, I don't really give tips or advice as such because I really genuinely believe each to their own. I think as a parent, you have to do what works for you and your family and your situation. Having said that, I am excited to be here at the Baby Dove event because Baby Dove says the same thing, each to their own, trust yourself, do what works for you. Yes, listen to people, listen to advice, but eventually filter out things and do what works for you. So if I had to say anything, I would say enjoy being a parent and don't be afraid if sometimes things are tough because I find a lot of the time I don't know if I'm doing something right or not. But I think that's what's so beautiful about it. It's a constant journey of learning. And I think if we enjoy it, it's great.
What are your views on traditional versus modern parenting?
I think, there are pros and cons of both. Again, I think it's each to their own. You have to do what works for you. Personally, I think it's usually a mix, especially in India, because there is a lot of tradition. There are usually family members who have inputs into the parenting. So I think usually it's a balance. But I think people are also now, because there's so much information, I think parents are, aware of a lot of stuff and they choose what they want to believe, what they don't want to believe.
Okay.
And I think from my experience, I've seen that a lot of the elders who give advice, they also respect the fact that the parent is the parent. And they'll give advice, but eventually it's the parent who perhaps makes the final decision.
Okay. So what are the three things, we learn so many things from others, but being a mother and you have two boys, what are the three things that your boys have taught you?
So my boys teach me stuff every minute, every day. And I think you learn a lot. Firstly, I didn't even know that at the age of 5 and 7, they are, so they could be such mature little people. So I think they teach me, I'm by nature a bit of a worrier, although I appear like I'm very laid back. Sometimes I get quite worried. So my kids both tell me, just chill, just relax. So that's something. I think I learn from them to have fun. I think I go back to being a kid in many ways. I play football, I ride horses, I play tennis, things that I did as a kid and I do again because of the kids. So I think they remind me to be a kid as well. And I think they kind of, without sounding too cliched, I think they kind of help us to be better people because I think you question things you do because you know that somewhere your kids are watching. So I think that to me is a very important thing, that you are not just a role model to them, but you kind of have to, you reevaluate the things you do and the person you are because you know that they're watching you.
Another thing that new mothers really worry about is the weight they put on and how they, how to lose it. And despite having two boys, you look actually like a teenager. So what tips, if you could share with them, to...
So again, I would say each to their own. Frankly, especially with the body, everyone's body is different. I'm not an expert, so for anything related to sort of the body and mental or physical health, I always say you should consult an expert, a doctor. But in my case, all I can say is, I think consistent exercise. Ever since I was in school, I've been exercising every day. Not a lot, but something every day. And to me, I think that suits my body type. So I'm not someone who runs like 2 hours a day, but I'll do 15 minutes every day, So for me, it's always been about consistency. Similarly with food, I eat everything, but not in extreme. So not too much and not too little. So I think by nature, I'm always kind of quite balanced or in the middle. I choose the middle path. So that's worked for me. Perhaps also high metabolism, which is probably genetic. So again, do what works for you because there are lots of people who perhaps exercise a lot, but still put on the weight. So I don't think you should let that bother you. As long as you're healthy, that's what's important.
Okay. One more thing that is, worrying parents these days is the screen time. A lot of kids love to be on iPads, they love to watch TV. So how do you juggle between, cutting, or what is the time out? How do you decide that?
Yeah, so we actually did an episode on this on our show, because again, most of these topics are things that we discuss on the show, and just to show that there are different perspectives. And personally, I think me and my husband, we're kind of again in the more balanced zone, or the middle path, where we feel that we don't allow too much, but at the same time we don't forbid it, because we believe that the way the world is moving, there's a certain amount of technology which is prevalent, and in a way you have to live with the times. But having said that, I feel here again the children teach you, because my kids, more often than not, our kids, if you give them the choice of playing outside in the mud with a football or sitting inside and watching TV, more often than not they'll choose playing outside. So I think it's interesting, because people assume that technology will be this big problem. But I think if you give kids access, they themselves will choose moderation. This is what I've observed.
Okay.
I think if you deny it, there's a bigger desire to try it,
Again, last question is that, there's this whole wave of organic food, healthy eating, staying away from junk. How much of it is too much, What do you think?
Again, I think I veer towards the middle path. I think that, good health for us all, for our kids, for all of us, touch wood forever, is our biggest priority. So you have to do what works for you. You have to use your own judgments about what's healthy, what's not. We don't deny our kids some treats, because I think that's part of childhood. But again, it's what works for you. We are very fortunate that my parents have a farm where they grow stuff. The kids love growing and they love eating what's been grown, so that's nice. And but I think also one has to be careful about trends and fads, because sometimes in the guise of organic, a lot of things are sold which may not be. So I think you also have to use your judgment to know what is healthy and what is not.
Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.